It sat just outside the neat walls of identical homes that made up the Silver Pines community, close enough to hear their weekend lawn mowers, far enough that I wasn't bound by their rules. No dues. No board meetings. No permission slips for how tall my grass could be or what color my front door had to be. That freedom irritated the hoe more than anything. The first letter came 2 weeks after I moved in. You are required to join the Silver Pines Homeowners Association. I ignored it. The second letter arrived certified, thicker, filled with highlighted bylaws and bold threats of fines. I sent it back with a single sentence, my property is not within your jurisdiction. That's when the visit started. Board members showing up to talk. Neighbors suddenly filming my driveway. Flyers posted on community boards calling me non-compliant and risk to property values. I stayed calm. I dealt with worse pressure in my career. This was just noise. Then one night, the noise turned into sirens. I wasn't home when it happened. I was staying downtown for work when my phone lit up with missed calls, from a neighbor, then the county sheriff, then the fire department. By the time I arrived, the house was gone. Not damaged. Gone. The fire chief told me it was arson. Accelerants. Deliberate ignition points. Whoever did it knew what they were doing. The HOA released a statement the next morning. They called it an unfortunate incident and reminded residents that unregulated properties pose safety concerns. Someone leaked an email thread from the board, nothing explicit, but enough smug language to make the message clear. This wouldn't have happened if had just joined. They expected anger. Threats. A lawsuit filed by some desperate homeowner scrambling for insurance money. Instead, I thanked the investigators, shook hands with the firefighters, and went back to work. Because while my house was ash, my position was very much intact. I'm a federal judge. And not the kind that handles parking tickets or paperwork. I oversee cases involving organized misconduct, abuse of authority, and interstate conspiracies. I don't chase power, I examine it under a microscope. Within days, my clerks began quietly pulling records. HOA finances. Board communications. Prior complaints buried in municipal archives. Patterns started to emerge: selective enforcement, intimidation, unexplained accidents involving non-numbers. The fire wasn't an anomaly. It was escalation. The board didn't know any of this. They thought they'd won. They sent one final letter, almost polite, suggesting I reconsider membership to avoid further complications. I framed that letter. A week later, subpoenas went out. Not from me directly. That would have been improper. Instead, a federal investigation opened based on evidence of coordinated harassment and potential criminal activity. Agencies that don't knock twice started asking questions. The HOA president called me for the first time that Friday afternoon. He sounded confident. Friendly. He offered condolences. Said he heard about my background and hoped we could resolve things neighborly. I listened. Let him talk. Before hanging up, I said only this. Please direct all future communication through counsel. He laughed. He thought it was a bluff. The following Monday, the case was assigned to my courtroom. And for the first time since the fire, I allowed myself a smile. The silence in courtroom wasn't ordinary. It wasn't the quiet of respect or routine, it was the kind that settles in when people realize they've misjudged the room they're standing in. The Silver Pines HOA board sat at the defense table in tailored suits, surrounded by lawyers who assured them this was a misunderstanding. Civil at worst. Manageable. Nothing they hadn't handled before. They didn't look at me when I entered. That changed when the clerk announced my name. One by one, heads lifted. Confusion rippled across their faces. The HOA president's confidence drained so fast it was almost visible. He recognized me, the man whose house they'd treated as expendable. I took the bench without expression. This case wasn't about revenge. It was about conduct. Authority abused. Lines crossed. The fire was only one piece of a much larger picture. The prosecution laid it out carefully. Years of intimidation against homeowners who refused HOA control. Fabricated violations. Targeted harassment. Financial coercion disguised as key community standards. And finally, evidence tying board communications to the arson, not a direct order, but encouragement, silence, and cleanup. The defense tried to object. Tried to reframe. Tried to suggest coincidence. It didn't work. Witnesses testified. Former residents. Contractors pressured into silence. A volunteer firefighter who remembered board members showing up suspiciously fast the night of the fire. Every word added weight. When the HOA president finally took the stand, he avoided my eyes. He spoke about intentions. About protecting property values. About how things went too far. I asked one question. Did you believe your position placed you above the law? He hesitated. That pause said everything. The verdict didn't come from me, it came from the evidence. Federal charges stuck. Assets were frozen pending civil judgments. The HOA's authority was suspended, then dissolved under state oversight. Board members lost more than titles. Some lost licenses. Others faced criminal consequences. All of them lost the illusion that power without accountability lasts. Outside the courthouse, reporters asked how it felt to preside over a case involving my own loss. I answered honestly. My role isn't to be feared. It's to be fair. The law handled this exactly as it should. The neighborhood changed after that. Signs came down. Rules vanished. People had been quiet for years finally spoke to one another without looking over their shoulders. Silver Pines became just a place again, not a hierarchy. As for me, I rebuilt. Not the same house, but something stronger. Somewhere peaceful. The fire took a structure. It didn't touch the authority they never bothered to understand.